Okay, we're back with some more Witch on the Holy Night after getting the coffee. Yeah, I think we're on chapter 6 because chapter 5 was a pretty long one and it left at a cliffhanger. Well, at least they took out the freaking automaton puppet that looked like crawling like a friggin' spider shooting out. Um, Shooting out bullshit, that is. In exchange of collapsing a building within the amusement park. Yeah, is it the castle of the mirror maze or whatever? Okay. Just click on next episode then. Or next chapter, that is. Oh, chapter. I thought it was chapter 6. I was mistaken to think it was chapter 6 because there was like chapter 1.5, but I guess not. The melody stirred an emotion like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar but now lost to this world. They believed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. The night shook. A song was spun. Now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams. Forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry of the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night. All fables made possible. All marvels were made real by the magecraft of Alice Kuhunji, more magical than magic itself.
随分と身勝手ね。
Oh, lovely.
それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら、青子。
Hey, but at least the puppet got destroyed. Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening.
アリス。
Great. There was tension in Aoko's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze.
あの子、確か。
It's like I've seen her before. Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He could not clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around town a number of times. Where and when eluded him, however, as the tension in the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
驚いた。随分と仲間思いになったのね、アリス。今夜は私に任せるんじゃなかったっけ？
Aoko readied her guard and took half a step forward, unconsciously. From an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. Alice's silence grew even heavier. Ever heavier. My bad. Her eyes, fixed on the ground below her, were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid a claim over the plaza.
金
If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound wave seemed unbelievably to be emanating from under the ground.
なあ、青崎、あの子。
黙ってて。
Sojiro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell for the crime of asking if the girl was Aoko's friend. Damn, is that... Damn, Sojiro's going to hell for asking if Alice is Aoko's acquaintance? Holy shit.
そうね。
仲間思いに当てはまるかは微妙だけど、良くない予感がしたから様子を見に来ただけ。別にあなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ。
それはどうも。どうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかったけど。でもま、ご覧の通り自己解決したわ。夜も遅いし、さっさと帰っていいわよ、アリス。私の仕事っぷりを疑うわけじゃないんでしょ。
Their eyes locked on one another. Lovely. A one-on-one stare. A stare down. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Aoko's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ、気が変わったわ。せっかくだし二人で帰りましょう。その方があなたらしいわ。帰りしな、人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい。
So does that mean you're not mad and you're about not gonna go and give Sojiro an ass beating because Aoko didn't... Whatever.
らしいって何よ、らしいって。いいから帰れ帰れ、ぐうたらアリス。部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての。
A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子、口にしたくないけど、本気？
Quietly, Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years.
呆れた。二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？
別に情っていうより私の気分よ。
Fucking Alice. He's like, what if Sojiro gonna end up being a snitch the next day?
だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
Who goes out of way to keep a promise you made forever ago? Yeah, Alice, you're a fucking boomer. So, whatever, it's so stupid. The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given nor taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of inconvenience, and had not reached the level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict or opinion arose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Neither was concerned for the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it.
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。
Once again, she let out a sigh even larger than the one before.
言い争いは後にしましょう。そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは私だけで十分だし。
Oh shit. I thought we're done and over it, but now we're back into square one of is Jover. Finally, she struck straight to the point. Yeah. Finally, the less yapping, more progressing. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender finger. Well, fuck! It ain't no trident. You could have summoned a fork. Oh, well, he's definitely dinner now. Shit. Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro, the same boy who had been hunted by his classmate, Aoko Zaki, and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence and an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. A fucking fork. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by the stage performer's magic trick, as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. Yeah, with a fork. Literally out of all projectiles you would use. You could use a freaking silverware. Oh. A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
やば。
Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot. Regretted? What do you mean? You regretted her reflexive shot? You're either you're either changed your mind about Sojiro, or you just want to try to solve some conflict with a 1v1 duel. I doubt that could work out, but oh well. She's like, oh shit. The look on her face. You know, I ain't gonna lie though, this is even goofy shit can be something like this in the middle of something.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、ルールまで破るつもり？
The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoko. This was especially true when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally breaking one would often result in a week of silent treatment. But against someone who maliciously destroyed her things, Alice was prone to retaliate without warning.
あっちゃー。いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに逆鱗に触れちゃったか。
Damn. You done fucked up. That visual novel would have been ended from here. But I guess not. I'm just joking. But there's something for me to do for long-term content. Aoko sighed at herself. Even she was exasperated by her own stupidity, yet she couldn't help but feel a pang of relief. She did not intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. If she had broken the rules, then so had Alice.
青子。
なんていうか。
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into a shot.
私的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るのよ。なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ？たった1日ぐらい。
To Aoko, it was simply natural to take on a pro bono case in defense of an innocent suspect.
それは市場？
Yes.
悪い？一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの、私。
私との協定より。
Am I having lag in my visual novel? What is this shit?
ええ、時と場合によっては。
Oh. Sojiro's human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames. The girl clad in black was the first to move, or rather, to erupt.
そう。よくわかったわ、青子。私は彼をここで殺す。あなたは彼をここだけ生かす。つまり、私と戦う。ということでいい？
そんなのいいわけないじゃない。
There's like a little fang there on Alka's gritted teeth. Huh. Alco bit back to retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent. And once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kounji was without mercy. Whether facing a roommate or a friend, a most beloved family member of a stranger, once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Great. Aoko advanced another half step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities and everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Aoko had no room for compromise or deception.
もちろん、あんたを殺すことになっても、そこのバカは生かしきるわ。それに。
You got your ass beat like probably 2 to 3 times by the automaton. I'm amazed that you're still doing this shit. Her magic circuits howled as they kicked into gear. Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate his true worth.
それに、どのみち最後には殺し合う仲でしょ、私たち。
Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits to become like the barrel of a gun, Aoko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, parting of water, nor hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary activity known as magical energy into something real before releasing it as heat. Thus, Aoko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magic bullets she had used against Sojiro were among the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Aoko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. These were at the 2nd level. This required a double-action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest, combined with a simplified incantation. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Aoko had mustered all of her spirit to fire. All of her spirit to fire. Damn. Almost like in the DBZ days where the Kamehameha didn't do shit. Aoko tutted in frustration. A swift sneak attack that used a simplified incantation would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
Aoko provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. So Somehow Alice seemed delighted by Aoko's
売
bravado.
り言葉に買い言葉というやつね。こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど。驚いたわ。こんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね、人間って。
Alice giggled. Smiling with heartfelt amazement, Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. Zap, 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 zap. In which stab, 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 stab. Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
しずきくん、後ろに飛んで。
Oh, okay. Maybe that's Alice's way of elegant magecraft. It seems. I thought the fork is kind of goofy. What do you mean, huh? She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before he even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Aoko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
これで終わり？
Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Aoko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like the burning of a witch at the stake.
普通逆じゃない。ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
Maybe this is part of show, or you're turning this into a battlefield, it seems. I don't know. The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape.
いいのアリス。悪いけど逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
If she could just make it back to town, it would be Aoko's win. I mean, they should have. All she wanted to do was let Sojiro get away from the night, so if she could get him back to the city, it would be, for the most part, mission accomplished.
Huh?
Or so she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ？あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイヤー！
Uh-oh. Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Aoko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Aoko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well, and she'd more or less gotten a grasp on her roommate's tendencies and abilities. This had made her conceited enough to believe that, under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. Oh, so much for that. That thing looked like poisonous gas for a moment from the looks of the green stuff. Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. Diddle Diddle fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? The sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade, approached. Oh. What emerged was a miracle that Aoko Ozaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Koonji's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park, as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう、青子。
For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. Well, it was an immortal monster ready to devour reality. What the absolute hell? Like, I didn't even see that one coming. Man, all this to have an amusement park come back to life. Like what? Where have we been this entire time? A dark fairy tale that, once unleashed, would never let its prey escape.
逃げられるものなら逃げてみせて。どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら、あなたの勝ちにしてあげる。
And yeah, but how bad can this be, though, I wonder? Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend. Her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Yeah, give me like about a half hour, like less than a half hour, I'll get back to that. I mean, I should be almost done. I'm like half hour in thus far. Man, all of this. Look at that shit. How did we went from like everything all powered out to this hitsy wheel? More like a super, although it's supposed to be Ferris wheel. Faded glory returned to Kitsy Land. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, rolled round and round. Actually, I'm curious, why is... Hold on. Why is this, I feel like I'm having a little bit of a lag moment. And there we go. Faded glory returned to Kitsy Land. Oh. Maybe it's like that. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, rolled round and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew.
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。セット。
Stifling her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crest on her right arm. If magic circuits were a mage's engine, then their crest was software that assisted their magecraft. For the fledgling mage Aoko, this was her trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers. Proof that she was the successor of the Aozaki lineage.
講師2層直流数門。
The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magic circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without an incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Kurunji. Aoko had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She would dial up the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. Alice had the protection of the thick hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Aoko struck home, it could cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. Yeah, if only it works out like that. At worst, it would at least knock Alice down from her position atop the clock tower.
そろそろいいかな。
I forgot. He hasn't even said a thing. As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly attention, pulling Aoko out of killer mode. Sojiro had been looking back and forth between Aoko and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ？
What the fuck do you think is going on now? He said it like he might ask for directions to the train station. God, look at her face. He's like, do you have any idea what's going on? Normally she would have lashed out in response, but his deadly serious tone shocked her rather than angered her.
信じられない。慣れてきた、私。
I mean, he could have been asking like, is this place kind of dangerous? Aoko swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂。ちょっと怒らせすぎた。
You pissed her off a bit too much.
あの子から見れば、まあいい機会だし、遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね。
He's like, what? Sojiro tilted his head as if begging for a simpler explanation.
私、割とあの子に恨まれてるから。捕まったが最後、どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ。要するに、あんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ。
Lovely. It's like this fight is getting more. And here I thought the puppet thing was already done.
そんなとばっちりだ。
まあ、そういうことになるかもね。
You mean to tell me I not only got dragged into this puppet nonsense, I got dragged into your quarrel too? What the fuck? As Sojiro protested in a tone wholly inappropriate to the situation. Inappropriate to the situation. Aoko let another blast rip from her right arm. She was not aiming at Sojiro though. A little earlier in the day, and Aoko would have been happy to do exactly that, but for now, her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. You would think the generic blast would work like that. Oh. Aoko's mind struggled to catch up to her astonishment. She had fired the strongest, fastest magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That much was to be expected. When Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. But what just happened? Something Aoko had never seen before leapt to Alice's defense. A team of horses? A plague of locusts? No, those existed in the real world, unlike what Aoko had just witnessed. Normal creatures could not form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. Uh-oh. Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not allow the rules of mankind. Oh, let's see here. See if I can get this rolling here. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Yeah, I can't believe we're in October already. Spoopy moment. Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Autonomous puppets were products of magecraft, but even then they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of the sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Aoko fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Deflected by balloons, out of all things, her impulsive attacks scattered futilely. The knights of the merry-go-round soared into the sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers.
Aozaki, uchiro!
Aoko and Sojiro were completely surrounded. The Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. A rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with Kitsy tears streaming down its face aboard. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. The girl in black reigned over the insanity-filled park. Oh, now we're screwed. Oh, it's Jover. Aoko was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her. Then she realized what was happening.
そうだ。これは。
Alice had once told her of Meinster's familiars. Among them were 3 of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called...
プロイキッシャフラットスナーク
Flat Snark.
青崎、だから後ろ!
Struck by Aoko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. It was clear Aoko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automata.
しずきくんこっち
Aoko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run.
青崎
ごめんこれ無理逃げるわよ
逃げるってどこに
I feel like there's nowhere to run, apparently.
どこってとにかく行けるところまで
She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Aoko's magic bullets flew like a scream, blowing away the creatures that blocked or simply gathered around their path. She made a hole for them to escape through. Oh. Magical bullets exploded like blue fireworks. Aoko and Sojiro ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look. The awareness only extended as far as the park border, so they would be safe as long as they made it outside. But, speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Yeah, when is Sojiro gonna do something? There's only 1 versus everything now. Sojiro was hardly useful in this situation, and man quote-unquote power wasn't really the issue here, since they were facing puppets.
さっきの大丈夫上からこうでっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど
Aoko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in her path. There was no time to stop for breath or even to look back.
なんとかギリギリ
As Sojiro pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly fast. It seemed that the residents' awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time.
ラッキー朝に弱いタイプばっかと見た
Are you sure about that? Aoko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then... Without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above them. It was the claws of the 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. Oh shit. Yeah, I know. Shocker, ain't it? Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Aoko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in two.
しずきくん U ターンこっちはダメ
The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Damn, giant seafood. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters. Too many to count.
なんとかギリギリ
Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body.
手前うわなんだあれ焼きたてか
Damn, I guess we're not eating bread tonight.
そうみたいね要するに下級兵士よ
Aoko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
7、6、5メートルあの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる
Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops.
青崎そっちも。
了解。
Blue explosions bloomed along the lamp-lit promenade. Alco's curtain of fire fanned out. It was a marvelous starmine fireworks show. The toy-bred men turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。しずきくん、そっちは。
いない、空いてる。ここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ。
I could go longer, but I can just do it later. Oh, you're right. This was right. Yeah, I made a save because I thought my game was lagging, but I might as well just put another save here anyway. I think that's enough of a reading session. I'll do more in another time.